good evening, everybody. This is Thursday night, April 24th. We normally have the call-in edition of Political Hot Seat, but tonight we have a special edition, and I do have here a guest. Tonight's guest is Dave Champion. Dave is a legal researcher, legal consultant, and a law enforcement experience, and was an Army Ranger. Dave, tell us about yourself.
Well, I think you summed it up nicely. I spent 15 years as a professional legal researcher and as a legal consultant for federal regulatory law. I have a law enforcement background. And back in the days of the Cowboys and Indians, I was a U.S. Army Ranger. And so...
They had Rangers back then.
They did. Could you believe it?
Right outside of Da Nang?
I'm old enough that they delivered us to the field of combat in covered wagons.
Oh, okay. As long as you weren't on a horse. Okay, tonight the subject is about the sheriff's race, candidate Rick Marshall. We have seen a report on Channel 8 and PVT and KPVM about the arrest. Let's break it down for the audience to understand. Let's see, looking at the declaration from the Nye County Sheriff's Office, we have some questions for you. Since the sheriff is out of the county and Dave Berkowitz cannot answer questions or talk to the press, can you give us an opinion of this declaration of arrest?
I can. For our audience, a declaration of arrest is a required element in order to book somebody into the system and have the police agency officially charge them with a crime. And then, of course, it's dependent later on whether the DA wishes to charge them with the crime at that level and proceed to prosecution. But in order to aver or allege the crime, the agency has to file a sworn statement, and this is the declaration of arrest that we have in this case. I've read through the declaration, and it creates something called reasonable suspicion for Rick Marshall to have been stopped initially, but it falls apart because there's a line where it says specifically that they had information that Rick Marshall had said that he had permission to remove the signs from those properties. When you detain somebody, the U.S. Supreme Court and every police academy in America will tell you there's one reason and one reason only to detain somebody, and that's to conduct a reasonable investigation. In this case, the officers involved, Dave Berkowitz and the others, did not conduct what I believe to be a reasonable investigation because when they were informed that he had consent to remove the signs by the owners, they didn't follow up on that. So a reasonable investigation looks at things that maybe promote what you want to do. And of course, you have to look at the things that would tend to upend what your goals are, and you have to judge this fairly. In this case, they looked at only the facts they wanted to look at, and they were like a little child with the ownership part. La, 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 we don't want to hear that because we want to arrest Rick, and highly irresponsible and unprofessional. Okay, well, then we have another question here. Do you know Stephen Lee? Does he have any... is he against the Nye County Sheriff's Office or any problems? I know of Stephen Lee. I don't know Stephen Lee personally. Okay. It clearly, he was at one time, I believe, arrested for embezzlement. And I want to be clear, the DA declined to prosecute. I think that's an important element when we talk about somebody being arrested. He was not prosecuted, hence not convicted. I understand he does have a case of angst with going back to where I used to live, the Nye County Sheriff's Department. But more importantly, I think in this matter, he has a significant amount of angst towards Rick Marshall. All right. Then we got the declaration of arrest. Says that there was an interview conducted, but on the declaration of arrest, there is no name given of who did the interview. That is correct. And how common is something like that, or does that come out on the actual arrest? That's actually one of the very unusual parts about the declaration of arrest. When you're writing a report, and let's say you were my partner, if I'm writing the report, I'm still going to say, Bill interviewed suspect number one, and suspect number one conveyed to Bill, so that somebody reading the report after the fact who is not present can put all the pieces together. I mean, that's what the purpose of reports are. And that's wholly missing from this declaration of arrest. Well, Dave, can you explain the statement Mr. Marshall alleges he had permission to remove the signs? Who did, Yes. Rick removed signs that were put up by an organization called Anybody But Rick Marshall for Sheriff, who is a cluster of individuals who have significant dislike for Rick Marshall. And I need to be blunt and forthright and say publicly that the guys have lied and lied again and lied again and lied again. They're not very honorable men. And so they have this organization, and they've posted signs around town, which is their right, okay? Not so much the lying part, but the posting the signs is their right. And Rick Marshall had permission from the property owners to remove those signs, and he did so.
Okay, I'd like to say something about one of the property owners. It's owner of the Maverick, Jan Jensen. I've known her for quite a while. I've held meet and greets there. She's always treated me good. I know that she said if a person has a political sign, she will give them permission to put it on their property, but she will not have any signs that discredits somebody or slanders somebody. She just wants positive signs. So if a person calls her, she'll allow a sign like if it says elect Dave Champion. But if it comes out and says don't elect Dave Champion because of something else and that, she don't want that sign on there because she always hears the controversies and she doesn't want to get involved in it that much.
Sure, and it sounds like it's very wise of Jan, because this is very much what they refer to as negative campaigning.
Right.
And I don't know any responsible person who likes negative campaigning, and that's completely what this group of individuals are involved in.
Well, and she's a business owner, so, you know, she's not publicly coming out saying who she's going to vote for when she gets in that booth.
Right.
She's just basically saying, hey, if you want to put something positive on my property, I'll allow it. If you want to put something negative, I don't want it there. So I understand Jan contacting the Sheriff's Department and saying, I want these signs removed. I mean,
yeah, I also should probably add on the issue of the owners saying this or such. There seems to be some controversy. There's a little bit of confusion, I think, at this moment, since the arrest just happened 2 days ago, that I think Dave Berukowitz and his little crew have alleged that one of the signs that Rick took down was not technically on Jan's property. And let me explain the dynamics of that. First of all, we're all familiar with the area out there near Mesquite and 160. If you're walking along, and you don't have an assessor's map and a surveyor with you to say this is the end of Jan's property, you'd be hard pressed if you thought it was her property to know the difference. Which brings me to the point I want to make. If Rick did in fact take down a sign that turned out to be, for the sake of argument, 12 feet off of Jan's property, crimes in this country, things like murder, rape, robbery, and theft, okay, require criminal intent. It's what the law calls mens rea. And clearly, if Rick believed it was on Jan's property and took it down believing he was functioning under her instructions and consent, there is no criminal intent, and that's simply a business dispute or a matter for the civil courts. If anybody but Rick Marshall folks feel they've been injured and they're owed a couple bucks for the signs, they go to Rick, they say, hey, can I have the money for the sign? If he says no, they take him to small claims, and that's the end of it. Under no circumstances should this have ever arisen to a matter of a criminal action, because there was no crime.
Okay, well, we do have a videotape of a couple of the owners speaking about how they... Are we ready for that videotape, or to show Jan Jensen and other property owners, or
every time there's a political campaign going on, people call me. I'm inundated with calls, and they call and ask if they can put their signs up, and I say absolutely, you know, because I promote anybody, you know, that's running for office of any sort. The only thing I don't approve of is anything negative. And then I'm inundated with calls when people tear the people's signs down, or they accuse me for campaigning for a certain person. I'm for everybody out there, for the best man. But I don't want any negative stuff up. So I always tell them, anything that you see negative, go up there, take it down. I don't want anything negative. There's enough negative in this valley now. I've watched this valley deteriorate. You know, I'd like to see things positive. I don't want the negative around me. One of the things about the candidates night here, Bill does a fantastic job. I don't allow negative stuff to come in here. When it came in, I wanted it out. I just want positive.
So did you ask for a particular person to remove some of the signs that was on the negative side, what you call?
Well, anybody that sees anything negative up about them, like Rick Marshall, take it down. If it's on my property, take it down. If it's in my establishment, take it out. I just want positive. I want to hear what a person's going to do for this community, not about their past. I want to go forward.
Did you ask for Rick Marshall to remove those signs?
I told Rick Marshall he definitely can remove anything negative. I just want positive. And anybody that's running for sheriff out there, they call me on the phone. If they want to put a sign up, I will give them that permission. If they want to put something up negative, absolutely not. And no one called me and asked me if they could have something negative on my property. So when you don't get permission, get it out. And if it's about you, take it out.
Did you think of calling the sheriff's office yourself to have the signs removed, or removing them yourself?
I told him the night of my campaign meeting here, when I seen some negative stuff, I said, you ever see that stuff? Get it out. I don't want it around me. I don't know how clear we can be in this valley. Why can't we be positive in this valley? There is so much. There's businesses that's going out of businesses because people just dwell on negative stuff in this valley. You know, let's rise above that. Let's do something for the community. Let's don't dwell on negative things.
Who did you tell that they could remove the signs to?
Anybody that's got a sign up there. Rick Marshall, you got one up there, something comes negative, take it down. Butch Boraski, you got a sign up there, take it down. He doesn't have one up this year. He asked to put one up. He hasn't got his up there, but I've always said that. I've had people put their sign up. I mean, I had Harley, when his was up, somebody tore his down. He got in my face and got very upset with me because he thought I took it down. I don't take anybody's sign down. As long as it's positive and you got permission, you can have it on my property.
Approximately own or represent over 200.
Where are they located?
All throughout the entire Pahrump Valley.
So tell me a little bit about the signs, political signs placed on your properties.
The signs that are on the property were given permission to Rick Marshall to use all of our properties. Nobody else has been given any permission to go on our properties and trespass, which they've done.
What has been happening? Rick's been putting up his signs, and then what's been happening after that?
All I know is Rick has been putting up his signs. I see other signs laying around on the ground that are blowing down, et cetera, et cetera. Other than that, signs that have been put on my property or property I represent, I have laid down on the side.
And these would be the signs that say anybody at Rick?
Yes.
And so these signs have been removed or fell over, or you've even taken down yourself?
Yeah.
Did you give permission to Assistant Sheriff Rick Marshall to remove the signs when he was putting up his signs?
He has full permission to do whatever he wants on those properties.
And that these properties that you own are managed throughout the valley?
Correct.
So tell me what your opinion is of what's going on.
Again, good old Pahrump. I think somebody jumped off the curb and got in the gutter. And this is gutter politics. And I think the people of Pahrump look above it.
What's your opinion of Assistant Sheriff Rick Marshall?
I have a very high esteem for Rick Marshall. He's been helpful to this city. He's been helpful to the kids in school with the wrestling programs. He's contributed. He's got a policy that he has worked hard for, where the rest of these people have no policy. They just want to get elected for whatever reason.
Hello, we're back now from those videos. I also like to let everybody out there know that we did invite Stephen Lee, who never did return the call to us. So we've come on without him. And so anyway, we're going to get back to this on the questioning of this here arrest. We have, there's information that Stephen Lee called Berkowitz direct when it seemed that Rick Marshall was taking the signs rather than calling the dispatch center. Is this normal?
Not normal at all. And I think it telegraphs that there is a relationship of people, a small group of people who are very intent on doing whatever they can by whatever means necessary to try and prevent Rick Marshall from becoming sheriff of Nye County. There is no, as an example, there is no solid information that links Dave Berukowitz with the effort of anybody but Rick Marshall. However, Berukowitz has been very, very vocal about the fact that he doesn't want Rick to be sheriff. And one of the individuals that is behind anyone but Rick Marshall is Travis Huggins. And they work together on the department. As a matter of fact, Travis was the union president. When he left the department, then Dave Berkowitz took over as union president. So obviously there's a handshake here, and it's highly, highly unusual for a citizen to call a detective directly and say, get down here right now. That's supposed to go through either the administrative phone number or the 911 phone number. But I think there was an agenda, and I think it was planned out in